Let's start by asking a simple yet relatable question to all of you. Okay, so why do many traders feel depressed after losses while a few traders use that same feeling to grow and become profitable? Have you ever wondered about it? And if yes, then you are at the right place, because today we are going to understand about depression and how can we help it to grow out of it and to grow in our trading environment as well. Okay, so the topic of the day is depression. So without any further ado, let's begin. All right. So in this chapter, basically we will understand what is the core, like why exactly depression is happening in the first place, and thereafter we will understand how can we grow out of it. We'll understand certain exercises, and then we will try to inculcate it in our trading environment and become a consistently profitable trader, right? That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Okay, so the hardest thing about depression is that it is addictive. It begins to feel comfortable not to be depressed. You feel guilty for feeling happy. These are the words by Pete, who is a musician. Okay, now non-clinical depression occurs when you are not where you want to be in your life. You have lost any hope to ever be and can't accept it. This might happen after a tragic event in your life or more progressively as some aspects of your life slowly fall apart. Depression results from feeling hopeless in or several areas of your life. Here are some examples. Okay, you lost your job and have no hope of finding a new one to match your expectations. You're sick and have no hope to recover as well as you would like to. You are divorced from your partner and can only see your kids once in a while. You have little hope of finding a suitable partner. You're in so much debt that it seems as though you'll never get out of it. You suffered a bereavement. Okay, so except this, I'll add another one. Sometimes a small thing can also make us feel depressed because we overthink about it. Like in the trading environment, two like same losses. If even if you'll see a trader who is consistently profitable, the same person is also having some losses, right? So he's tackling it in some other way. But there is some beginner, there is some intermediate level traders who have this losses, and they will feel very depressed about it. They will overthink it. They will, then go for over trading, revenge trading, and whatnot. Ultimately they will blow their account, and they will again start questioning their existence and their ability and everything. Okay, now, this all started from a very small triggering point that you got lost, then you started overthinking, then you gave so much negative emotion to it, so much negative energy to it, that ultimately it falls under the category of depression in a longer term or in a longer run. All right. Now, while the events above are tragic, depression can also be created out of more ordinary, less severe events. That's what I told about, right? A simple loss can also lead to that. But if there is a problem, there is always a solution, and we will seek the solution. Okay, so for instance, some people may spend so much time dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, they eventually become depressed. This may happen even though no significant events have occurred in their lives, right? So that means you're giving a lot of negative thought, you're giving a lot of negative emotions, a lot of negative energy to something that has had happened in the past or that might happen in the future. So you're just putting a lot of energy into it, but in not correct manner. Okay, now depression is an active process. All right, so you're not. All right. So we have already covered it, right? Events have occurred in their life. Okay, it is essential to remind yourself that depression, like other emotional states, is neither good nor bad. It just is. You're not your depression. Again, in the very beginning of this book, we understood we are not our emotions. Emotions are in a constant flow. So we are the one who are deciding to put our energy into it. If we are doing it in positive manner, like we are giving positive energy to right thoughts, then we'll grow. If we are giving the energy to negative thoughts, then we will again, we can have this negative feeling, self guilty, and all the negative emotions inside of us. So they will stay for a longer while. All right, you're not you are not your depression. you existed before it, you exist during it, and all things being equal, you'll exist after it. This is very, very, very important. You existed before the depression phase in your life, you will exist when the depression is still going on in your life, and you will exist after it'll pass. Okay, so depression is an active process. While it may seem as though depression is happening to you, it is in fact created by the negative thoughts you identify with. Okay, so thus you do have some responsibility in creating your depression. Now it might sound odd to you, but that's the core, that's the reality. Since you have put a lot of energy into negative emotions, that ultimately it leads to depression. So that means you directly or indirectly gave the energy to ultimately turn it into depression. Okay, does it mean you should feel guilty or beat yourself up for being depressed? Of course not. Never. In fact, you should never beat yourself up for any of the emotions you feel. Because remember, we learned it in the very beginning. We are not our emotions. All right. So try to see it from the third person POV. All right, that would be pointless. What it means, however, is that because you have played a part in creating your current emotional state, you also have the power to get out of it. And that's a great news, right? Remember Dr. David K. Reynolds first had experience with depression. He wrote the following. Okay, depression can be created by sitting slouched in a chair, shoulders hunched, head hanging down. Repeat these words over and over. There's nothing anybody can do. No one can help. It's hopeless. I'm helpless. I give up. Shake your head. Shy. Cry. In general, act depressed. And the genuine feeling will follow in time. Okay, so heard I have read several stories about it, like certain experiments in the past, like some psychologist went into a mental asylum. He pretended to be mental, and he pretended to be depressed, and after a while he started having these things in real. That means he actually got depressed, right? So fake it till you make it kind of thing, but in a negative sense. All right, so if you constantly feed your thoughts in this manner, that you're giving power, you're giving energy to this depressed thought, so ultimately you'll become depressed. Okay, so that's the uh, crux what David K. Reynolds is trying to say over here. He said the same thing in constructive living. Okay, david k reynolds depressions David K. Reynolds' depression was entirely self created. It was an active process that included adopting a certain body language, repeating certain words, and having certain thoughts. He had to act in a certain way to become depressed. The good news is that because you have the power to create depression, you also have the power to climb out of it. If you can create depression, obviously you can, end the depression also, right? You can climb out of it. However, in a negative state such as depression, ignoring negative thoughts and replacing them with the more positive ones can be extremely challenging. All right. That means it will require your conscious efforts. All right. Even if you try to think more, what I can say, think positive thoughts of gratitude, joy, or happiness, at first they will seem to have no power. But you may experience other negative emotions such as anger, for instance. You may ignore your anger at first. Your friends may even encourage you to do so. They would rather see you quiet and depressed than angry. However, sometimes anger may help you move up the emotional ladder and overcome depression. So keep in mind, any emotion other than depression can help, and learn to embrace whatever emotional state seems to give you more energy and therefore provide more power to move up the emotional ladder. So ultimately, the author is trying to say over here that all you have to do is channelize your energy rather than giving the what I can say, this energy to negative thoughts. You are giving this energy to some other emotion. It can be anger also. All right, for a short period of time. All right, David K. Reynolds also suggests that feeling fluctuate over time even with depressed people. He wrote, in the deepest depression, there are ripples and waves of somewhat lighter moods. You can use moments when you feel slightly better to take whatever action may be beneficial to you at the time. Now, we will come to the action part, that is, how to use depression to grow. Okay, so far we understood why this depression is coming into existence, and what are the simple things that can lead to depression, and how can we identify depression, and so forth, and you know things around it. Now, we will understand how to use depression to grow. Depression is nothing but a sign you have lost touch with reality. Okay, it is giving you a sign that rather than being objectively present, you are not living in reality, but you are, you know, in some other senses. Okay, so similarly in the market also, if you are not objectively looking at the market information but just trying to force your emotion into it, market will punish you sooner or later. In a longer run, it will ultimately punish you. So in the market also, in trading environment as well, every time you have to stick with the trading plan. You have to have a, objective mindset, that you are looking at the information the way they are rather than putting your emotions into it. Okay, market provides neutral information. All you have to do is find out which one is giving you more probability to win or earn, and then you are putting some money to check if your probability, if your assumption is right or not. It is as simple as that. But the problem is when you start you know not looking market objectively, and you are doing things just out of emotions, then ultimately you'll do over trading, revenge trading, and all the kind of problems, and ultimately you'll end up losing more and more and more in a longer run. So you might feel like one day I won, but ultimately the next day when you'll come, this negative habit ultimately take money out of you. Not the one that you won, but also something from your pocket as well. So that's why it is very important to understand all the emotions and how can we grow out of it. All right, now depression is a sign you have lost touch with reality. Have you noticed that human beings are one of the few species on earth that has the ability to become depressed? This is because they are the only ones who can get lost in their mind and become enslaved by negative thoughts and disempowering stories. So this is again very important. That means human beings, what they have this power of their mind, but if it is used in negative sense, that then it can lead to depression as well. Okay, because when someone is lost in their mind and become enslaved by negative thoughts and disempowering stories, it will lead to depression. Depression is a sign that you need to move away from your mind by letting go of your worries about the past, future, or your interpretation of the present situation and reconnect to the present moment. So, all you have to do is consciously put your efforts in to take your focus from these past, future, or your interpretation to the present moment. Okay, it can be a powerful invitation to let go of the identity you have been clinging to for so many years. That means you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to consciously put your efforts in, and getting out of your comfort zone is sometimes very tricky, but you have to do it if you really want to grow, not just in trading environment but in your real life as well. If you want to grow, you have to leave certain things, including your comfort zone. Okay, and I'm not saying that all of a sudden you have to make drastic changes in your life. No, start small, get comfortable with it, and ultimately your small efforts will compound, and ultimately it will show you a big positive change in your life. Okay, now this identity is what led you to believe you should be doing certain things, making a certain amount of money, adopting a certain lifestyle, or developing a certain social status. That's why the people with a lot of money is also sad, and the people with no money at all is also happy at times. It's all about the perception, right? It's all about these things, right? So, depression invites you to reconnect with your body and emotions while getting out of your head. After all, didn't your mind create the depression in the first place? The answer is yes. If you think technically, then the answer is always yes. Your mind, you yourself created depression in the first place. Some people who experience severe grief, sadness, or depression like to keep themselves busy to avoid thinking. Right? When depressed, more thinking is seldom the solution. You rarely see people getting out of depression by using their mind. That means all you have to do is focus on something else. Get yourself busy more and more. If you can do something creative, then it's great. If you can do something that is making you feel happy, for an example, for some people it can be as simple as playing cricket, playing guitar, or what I can say, watching a simple sitcom or whatever it is. But whatever works for you, do it without putting a lot of brain behind it, right? Therefore, instead of thinking, you want to reconnect with your body Exercising is a great way to do this and has been shown to be effective in improving your mood. For additional information, refer to the section The Benefits of Exercising. We'll discuss it. Okay. In some rare cases, severe depression can lead people to separate from their mind. When this happens, their story suddenly drops. Apparently, this is what happens to Eckhart Tolle, as he recalls in his book, The Power of Now. He had a sudden awakening and his mind stopped. Here's what he wrote about his experience. This withdrawal must have been so complete that this falls. Suffering self immediately collapsed, just as if a plug had been pulled out of an inflatable toy. Right. So what he's trying to say, let's read it again. Let me emphasize it again. This withdrawal must have been so complete that this falls. Suffering self immediately collapsed, just as if a plug had been pulled out of an inflatable toy. Okay. In summary, depression tells you to let go of your ego and reconnect with reality. It invites you to get out of your mind, which can only recall the past or anticipate the future, and live more in the present. I have said this in the past as well in certain videos. I'll try to phrase it again. Cap- Carpe diem, right? That means seize the day, live in the reality, do the best that you can do in your day, and ultimately it will compound in positive manner, and you can see the big changes, big positive changes happening in your life. Okay. In the trading environment as well, if you'll inculcate small habits, positive habits, so maybe initially you will feel like this is not, rewarding in nature, but ultimately in a longer run you'll see it will grow your wealth 10x, 100x, sometimes 1000x more than you ever imagined. Okay. And live more in the present. Severe depression may require to help of a professional, but for milder depression, here are some mediating strategies. So these are certain things that you can try when you feel, low. I'll not say depressed, because if you are feeling clinical depression, then you should go to a professional. But if you feel like the negative emotions are somewhat, you know making you feel overwhelming, then you can try these exercises to come back to reality. Okay, reconnect with your body and your emotions. To overcome depression, it is essential for you to escape your mind. It's easier to feel your way out of depression than to think your way out of it. I would venture to say that most people spend over 90% of their lives in their mind. They have only rare moments of lucidity where they are fully aware and present. For instance, they don't listen to people, but they judge and interpret what they say, anticipate what they will say next, and or get lost in their thoughts. Guilty, I have also done it in the past, but not to the extent people generally do. Right. I've seen people are like giving zero fucks what the other person is trying to convey. They have their own story. They always listen to what they really want to listen to. Right. No matter what the other person is saying. Right. So basically, that's why in current society, having a good listener or finding a good listener is a boon. Right. So what people generally do, they judge and interpret what they say. Okay. They anticipate what they will say next, and or get lost in their thoughts. So in all these scenarios, they're not being completely present in the, what I can say, now moment. They're just either in the past, or they're trying to, you know anticipate something that will happen in the future, or they're in their own thoughts, some other own thoughts. Right. All these things happen in the mind level and show how people are not fully present, because they either live in the past or in the future. In their mind, they experience a number of negative emotions. Below are some of the things you can do to reconnect with your body and your emotions. Exercise. As previously discussed, exercising is a great way to calm your mind and connect with your body, and it has a positive effect in your mood as well. Tried and tested method. I have also done that in the past, and I'm currently doing it as well. So try to have you know some kind of exercise included in your day-to-day life. Or okay, you can start with as simple as some walking routine, but it needs to be a routine, right? For example, you are doing 5,000 steps in a day, or then you increase it to 10,000, or you're doing some simple core exercise or simple running, or let's say you start hitting gym. So whatever suits you, you can do it. Okay. Then the second thing is meditate. Meditation is an effective way to observe your mind and stop identifying with your thoughts so heavily. Meditation has a lot of, what I can say, positive benefits if used in right manner. You can start with 1 minute. Like, what does meditation requires? It requires simple, like you can start with simple breathing exercise for 1 minute, 2 minutes, then you can increase up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever suits you. Okay. Meditation is simply a tool to help you reconnect with reality by observing thoughts, emotions and sensation instead of getting lost in your mind. And meditation is very important if you want to survive in trading environment for long enough, because you really need to have a good hold on your thoughts, and for that you need to have this meditation thing included in your life. Okay. You can start small. Don't try to inculcate it as a drastic change in your life. Start small. Once you'll develop this habit, then try to increase it, and it will happen. Okay. Activity. Getting busy allows you to avoid excessive thinking. Instead of feeding your depression with constant negative thoughts, concentrate your attention on something else. It can be anything, including a hobby or whatever suits you, whatever that is constructive in nature. Okay. Now, focus on others. As mentioned in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Alfred Adler used to say to his melancholia patients, you can be cured in 14 days if you follow this prescription. Try to think every day how you can please someone. Okay. Whether or not it is accurate, focusing on others can certainly help you forget about your own issues and focus on something more positive. So momentarily you can shift your, in this example also, what you're trying to do is you're trying to channelize your energy or your thoughts in some other direction rather than pointing it to negative emotions or negative direction. All right. So rather than feeding the negative emotions, you are trying to feed the right emotion. Sometimes if that works for you, can focus on someone else as well. Unfortunately, when you feel depressed, you won't want to do any of these things. However, as you start moving and start keeping yourself busy, your situation will gradually improve and it will become easier and easier. Thus it is important to take things just one step at a time. As I repeat this phrase again and again in this video, like throughout the video, that start small. Okay. So start and take one step at a time. Okay. By this we are coming to the end of the video, and today we understood about the depression, why it is coming into existence, and how can we cope with it, and how can we get out of it, and how can we grow, and how can we use it in trading environment, and what are the action steps, and exercise, meditation, whatever. So all these things we learned today, and one very interesting question is waiting for all of you in the comment section. Make sure that you're answering it. And yes, make sure, if you like the content, make sure you drop a like, you drop a comment which part is you know something that you related with, and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, universe. Thank you so much, Radha Ranji. Peace out.